Hi, it's Toby from Heavyweight MMA. Today, I was lucky to talk with Janay Harding, part of the wave of oceanic fighters taking the MMA world by storm. Born in New Zealand, raised in Australia, trained out of many gyms around the world. She's one of our up-and-coming stars. Please have a listen.
Man to man, combat hand to hand, hands locked, ready for the last stand, elbow drops, kicks fade bang. If I connect you, levitate, better settle mate, lights out, knocked out by the heavyweight.
Hi, it's Toby from Heavyweight MMA. Today with Janay Harding, straight out of Gold Coast, I'm guessing. Is that where you are right now?
Yes, that's correct.
And I usually talk to a lot of Aussies and Kiwis, and you're kind of bridging both gaps because you're born in New Zealand, moved to Australia when you're young, and now you're residing in the Gold Coast, yeah?
Yeah, that is how it is. I lived in kind of all over the place a little bit as an adult, but yeah, it's crazy coming around, doing a full circle and being back on the Gold Coast now where I did my high school and grew up, really.
Yeah, actually, that's something I want to talk about because you've trained all around the place, right? You've trained extensively in different areas of the States. You trained in Thailand. I heard you mention you went to the Philippines. I'm not sure if that was for fighting or what, but yeah, you've been around training a lot. How was that? How is it training everywhere?
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. You get to not only travel and experience like other cultures and other kind of destinations, but you also obviously get different opinions and how people do it. Like you said, like Thailand obviously has that very big Muay Thai following, and then places like the Philippines is crazy on boxing and that kind of thing. And that's why I went to the Philippines for like a 2-week boxing camp. So I kind of got to experience a little bit of everything. And then obviously America has a massive MMA fan base, and it's completely different over there than it is sort of being in Australia, and not a lot of people even know really what MMA is, or let alone maybe Bellator or something like that. So yeah, it's been amazing. I got to meet a whole lot of people and got to train and experience a whole lot of different stuff. I think that's one thing the sport has given me a lot of is experience for sure.
Yeah, Dan Hooker. Actually, I've mentioned it a lot lately. Dan Hooker and a few other fighters, Genah Fabian, etc. Lately, have talked about traveling being a big part of, their love for MMA, that they can be a warrior like they want to, and they get to travel around. And you mentioned learning about yourself too, right? In one of your interviews, you said you can learn more about yourself through travel. Yeah, what did you mean by that?
Yeah, I think travel specifically on your own is one of those things where you end up spending a lot of time by yourself, making a lot of decisions on your own, and there's a lot riding on those decisions that you do make. So I think therefore the adversities that you kind of encounter when you're traveling around and experience different things and making different decisions is one of those things that gives you a lot of lessons and kind of allows you to sort of go a little bit more internal and learn a little bit more about yourself. You're like, okay, so I am full of this this grit that I perceive myself to have, but a lot of times it gets sort of tested when you are on your own or isolated in different countries and different cultures and stuff. It can be beautiful sometimes, but can also be pretty lonely. So I think that's where I've learned a lot. And as like an only child myself and someone who sort of already spends a lot of time by themselves, it's sort of put a lot more emphasis on that. And I think I got to, develop a little bit more as a person.
Yeah, man, and this it just makes me think a little bit. In martial arts, there's a bit of this thing about loyalty, and there's some sort of expectations from a lot of gyms that you like stay in that gym and train in that gym forever. What are your feelings on that? Because you've traveled around. I heard you mention something about a few of the gyms. Was it UFC PI and Syndicate Gym and CMBT on the Gold Coast? And obviously, you've tried some different gyms. What's your feelings on moving around and that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the times I moved around because something was happening, like some sort of outside factor, like whether it be COVID or like opportunities rising up. Like, I mean, Thailand especially, I feel like that was my first sort of place that I traveled to. I'd been at my home gym on the Gold Coast, Puma, for like I think 6 years, and I'd stay loyal to them, and it was a fantastic place to start my career and learn a lot of things. But I was running out of opponents here in Australia, and I kind of didn't really have a lot of options here left. So it was either I stay pretty stagnant or I, make some sort of wise decision to broaden my opportunities and hopefully get more exposure. So I feel like that happened, and you know, like everyone's journey is different, and maybe you need different stuff. And man, I wish I could just stay at the one gym the whole time. I do think it's super beneficial to have that sequential learning and main head coach, and that those people that have known you for a very long time. But sometimes you outgrow maybe them or just the area itself. And like I'm saying with Australia, it's not, the following in for MMA isn't as big over here. I mean, it's definitely getting better, and I can't wait to see it get even more popular. But places like America and that obviously are going to offer more opportunities, and there's just going to be even just more businesses that want to sponsor you, and more gyms that have like high level training partners and stuff like that. Pretty much every gym over there has like a UFC or a Bellator or a PFL fighter, you know. So having that different exposure kind of is beneficial. There's pros and cons obviously, but I think moving around for the right reasons is always positive.
Yeah, a couple of the guys mentioned also about being able to travel to somewhere like Thailand, Tiger Muay Thai as an example, and getting all the different looks from all these different international fighters, because every country has their kind of own take on MMA, right? Different influences and that. Like obviously the States has got a heavy wrestling base, same as some of the Russian areas. So yeah, is that something you've sort of benefited from as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, like staying in that one gym kind of gives you the same looks all the time. You get pretty used to them, you know. You're like, okay, I know this person does this, so I'm gonna go heavy on this side or whatever it is, and that's fantastic. But yeah, like somewhere like Thailand, especially, it's not necessarily just Thai culture that you're getting exposed to. It's sort of like a middle ground hub for a lot of different countries that end up going over there and living the lifestyle. Obviously, that's one positive, the freedom of just like hopping on your scooter, good hot weather, and going to the beach in between sessions. And then of course, yeah, having other people there that have their own different style and their own sort of identity within the sport is super exciting. I think that's definitely made a big difference on fighting international opponents now as I get better, and as I'm obviously fighting like Russians and Irish people and Americans and all sorts of stuff like in Bellator. That kind of little experience going overseas, I think, helped me do that and not be as intimidated by the idea of it.
And also talking about the quality of sparring partners. I heard you mention training with Angela Hill, and I think you said Juliana Pena as well. Like how great is it to be in a gym that has this sort of quality people to work with? Like it's going to build your skills incrementally. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. I mean, San Diego specifically, maybe not Juliana Pena, but Juliana Velasquez and Juliana Miller, and then Jessica Penne, and
Hey,
all
no,
that
that's what
stuff.
I was.
Yeah, both like massive veterans of the sport, both people that I've always looked up to. And I was like, wow, like being able to, yeah, just be exposed, not only just to like them as training partners, but just their minds, you know, like what experiences they've had and in certain things and adversity that have faced, or just especially Angela, just like she obviously is still so active in her fighting career and still fighting absolute killers, and just still learning, I guess, as a like martial artist, that I sort of find that I'm never ending in this like journey. I've never quite, you know, I've once I think I've got everything covered, then obviously there's a new barrier to break and move forward through. So it's just being surrounded by those girls, and I feel like that kind of experience it'd be hard to find in Australia for sure.
So in saying that, if you're a young Australian or Kiwi, let's not talk about the local gym. I don't know, maybe Kiwi as well. I'm just thinking you might just say City Gym, but if a young fighter could choose somewhere to train, that after your experience, man or woman, what's the best place that they should go to train MMA? Say.
I mean, yeah, that's a hard one. I do also think, you know, that there's not a one size fits all, but in a general aspect, I mean, city kickboxing's amazing, but I also know a lot of people have had a lot of success midway through their journey. I maybe don't think starting your journey off, but midway through your journey going to Thailand. I mean, somewhere like Tiger or now Bangtal is like going to be probably the next best thing. Having that opportunity to, yeah, like be exposed to different nationalities and different styles is absolutely a great place to further your career. I think it's always good to have a great base, and you'll probably always kind of circle around and come back to your base in a sense. But experiencing things like that, if you're in Australia, New Zealand, it's also a little bit more affordable. It's a little bit closer. you're in like 8 hours away rather than being like 16, 20 hours away, that kind of thing. It's not a Western country, so it's not as expensive like lifestyle wise, which is kind of positive. So it's definitely more attainable, more doable, and it still gives you like quite a lot of experience and exposure. But finding those home gyms, I think Australia, New Zealand, city kickboxing, you can't really go past that.
Yeah, true. And that you just mentioned Bangtal. I've seen it popping up all over social media, man. It's looking pretty good. That's with the Hickman brothers, right? So yeah, that's a good new destination for everyone to try.
Yeah, and it's cool. It's cool to have another destination, you know. Like, I mean, all of us from like, yeah, like Dan and Kai and Jenna and that kind of thing. We all spent time at like Tiger and AKA and Phuket Top Team, and those are fantastic gyms. But you know, seeing new fresh face coming through and offering maybe something a little bit more MMA style is exciting to see how they'll go.
Do you see any similarities between you and Jenna, man? I talked to her like this week as well, earlier in like at the end of last week, I think it was Sunday. And I just seen some similarities between you guys in many different ways, be it fighting style, be it background, be it, you know, personalities. Do you see some similarities?
Yeah, it's funny. We met maybe, what was it, like 5 years ago, in Thailand through a mutual friend, teed us up for some sparring rounds. And so she came to Tiger to spar with us, and that was fantastic. And I had a whole lot of people already kind of being like, oh, you know, like getting us mixed up or just blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, like, we don't look the same. Like, we look similar, of course, but like, you know, you can't get us mixed up in a sense. And then like, maybe in the last couple of years when we've bumped into each other in different places in the world, it turns out we are like super similar. And like, it's so funny because like, she's the kind of friend that will like, we won't speak for a few months and then she'll call me and it'll be like a straight like 2 hour conversation of tea and just like dishing out like what we've both been up to. And it's funny because I was like, I hate to sort of I guess like prove everyone right, but we are like super similar and we get along a lot, which is good because we both relate to, I guess, similar lifestyles and similar things. So we have similar issues that we sort of face, which is really funny. So when we catch up, it's always definitely good yarns.
Yeah, man. And I don't want to insult CMBT or anyone that you're training with or yourself, but I really feel that CKB is a place for you. I know it sounds stupid, but your movement and the way you fight is a version that's like I wouldn't be surprised if someone said she's a CKB girl, just the way you move and think and your look. There's some similarities, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the crazy thing is, I mean, I've only been a CKB once. I have a great relationship with Eugene. I think he's a fantastic person. I have nothing but absolute respect for him. And but the funny thing is I bumped into a lot of CKB people sort of in my travels. So like when I was in Thailand, I worked with Brad Riddell a lot and then a little bit with Selby. And then when I came back to CMBT, I have Brent in there who all his information comes from really Brad and Selby. So it's just sort of like, I'm still really using that. And I mean, even last year when I went to San Diego, I didn't really go to San Diego because that was my first choice. It was more because of the lockdowns and everything in Sydney. I wanted to come either back to the Gold Coast or go to New Zealand. And both of those places I had to quarantine. It would have been super expensive. And I just, you know, it was a lot of hurdles to kind of jump over. It's crazy to get into a country that I'm a citizen of, like New Zealand, which is insane. But so it was actually easier to go to San Diego, whereas I would have preferred to go to city kickboxing, but it was just a little bit too hard. So it's definitely somewhere that I've been trying to get to or get back to because yeah, I couldn't agree more. A lot of my learning and then a lot of my stylistically, and then just like being around your own people, you know, like just being around someone as like genuine as Eugene and the guys that train there, that's something in itself. It just feels like home.
Yeah, just watching, like I would just watch your fight again about with Silva, that Bellator fight early this year. That was in April this year, was it? Was it April?
Yeah, end of April, yeah.
Yeah, this fight, man, like there's just, I can see that sort of similar style in a way in this fight in particular. And I'm sure you could have got the win with the right little bit of, you know, addition or changes in your fight. You would have won that one because it was very close anyway, right? What would you say you could have done to win that fight before I say what I think?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because like it was very close. I felt like, I felt like I wasn't getting hit a lot. So I feel like I didn't change. I didn't adjust as much as I should have. But watching it back, I can definitely understand how the judges saw it, because my balance and definitely just my distance was okay, but my balance and my volume were not there. And so for your balance to not be there, it makes it look like these shots are more damaging than they are. And then it also hinders you to retaliate on a second or third phase attack. So like countering the counter and stuff like that. Those are things that with a couple more shots, like literally like 2-3 more shots max, I could have like edged out the decision for sure. And that was, I mean, the game plan was obviously to take the least amount of damage and to not get into a dogfight, which is something that I find success with. But having got this eye surgery and everything, and knowing that I needed another one, I wanted to, for the first time in my career, play it safe in a way. And I feel like just, with that lack of balance, I don't feel like I was getting hit as much as what it looked like, because I've watched it back, like even in like super slow-mo kind of thing, and just checked a certain thing. My defense was good, but having the balance there, it doesn't really matter if your defense is good, because it looks like, you're falling over, or your head's going back, even though things are skimming you and stuff like that. That's just how it is. And so I'm not arguing with the decision in any way, but I do feel like, obviously it was closer than what the judges saw it when you kind of break it down, but they can't break it down in a live scenario. So just tidying up those little things and definitely being a little bit more of a gamer would have definitely made the difference.
Yeah, it was very close. And I think even the commentary was off a little bit, right? Like assuming that there were some big hits landing when there wasn't so many. It was probably pretty close to being equal as far as heavy hits. You were landing some good right hands as well. But I think what you said about playing it safe, that's the way to fight a person like that, just out of range. Like your range was awesome. Like just moving away from her big, heavy punches, man. You did get hit by a couple, but the majority were either caught on your hands or just out of range. It was good to see. That was a perfect game plan. I think what I like to have seen, and I'm sure you could have won just by implementing leg kicks earlier, man. And that's the CKB thing I'm talking about. Like in the beginning, you didn't really do leg kicks until at the end of the second round. It's like, and then you started thinking, oh, got these leg kicks too, and you started throwing you. And that would have slowed it down, man, because heavy punches, they need their legs, right? So you chop that front leg a bit, and I think you would have got it just by adding it earlier. Because second round you started at the end, and the last round you added a few as well. You're throwing a few body kicks early, but I think because she was looking to catch it, just made it a little bit unsafe to throw it high. So I reckon, those low kicks, and you would have got that. It's kind of
I watched that.
Well, you're not low kicking.
That was the points. Like I could see the second and third round, those were I was like edging up the points as well. And I think again it was like a mentality thing for me. Like I was disappointed in watching it back, because I'm usually so much more of a gamer. Like, and I throw a lot of the lead, especially the lead leg inside kick. I throw that a lot, especially because people come forward on me. And as soon as I start edging back, sometimes I get a little bit too tall. So I throw that lead leg to stop them from coming in too far. But I feel like as from a mental aspect, I wasn't from the get-go, like I wasn't sharp from the first bell. I should have been. And therefore I lost a little bit of time that I could have, would have made a difference. But I agree.
Anyway, it was a good fight. You did fight well. It just didn't quite get there. Next time.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, just then you mentioned about having your eye injury, which I heard about. You had the eye surgery, detached retina. You also mentioned about things being expensive, whatever. MMA has a lot of negatives, right? Like there isn't a lot of money really, unless you're at the top of the game. There's a lot of health repercussions. Is it worth it? Have you ever questioned being an MMA fighter?
I question it probably every couple of months, especially after a loss, like you curse the sport a lot. And then it doesn't take long for me to just wrap my head around the fact of this sport has given me so much as well. Like it's definitely negative. I've been super lucky with injuries, honestly. Like I can't complain in comparison to a lot of people that I know. A detached retina is obviously not ideal, and now I wear glasses, and not being able to see properly is a bit of a hindrance in the gym and stuff. But it's all things that I don't see impossible to work past. But like at the same time, there was during this whole process of the eye issues, I don't think I ever wavered from the fact that I'm still going to fight. Like maybe not forever, obviously. And there is a time limit on a sport like this, but it was always like the goal was just always like, I'm getting back in the cage, you know, and that was what I focused on. And I think the reason for that is just because it is such a beautiful sport, and because it has given me so much. It's given me a purpose. It's like I'm saying, it's given me so many opportunities to travel over the world and see a whole lot of different cultures and have networks and friends from different pockets of the world is insane. I think as a kid from Christchurch, like with a single parent and being an only child, like and not really growing up with much, like these are things that I think a younger me would be super proud and super impressed by the things I've done and I've achieved. So it can be tough, and obviously financially it can be tough. I think maybe if I had, I don't know, become something, like gone to uni or something, I would probably have a little bit more money, but and maybe like made a couple of better choices during my MMA career, I might have a little bit more money, but could have, should have. Like at the end of the day, I'm very grateful for everything I've done. I still am proud of all the things that I've achieved at 27, living in 4 different countries and you know, fighting on the second biggest promotion in the world, being the youngest person in the top 10 and all these little things, the only Maori woman or New Zealander in like the featherweight division and stuff like that. It's all, these are all little things that I kind of come back to and remind myself, you know, this sport is beautiful, but it does have a couple of negatives.
Yeah, man, being a little bit older than you, and I've come to junctions where it's been the other way around. Like I've chosen the other path, fighting and then deciding to just stick with work because that's the standard. You know, people just do that for stability and income and that. And getting to an older stage, I'm earning great money. I'm in a great job, and I would probably go back and take the other path in a way. Obviously, you're not going to be able to do it, but in a way, I wish I had taken that path. So I think you're doing the right thing, following your heart and following your real passion. I think that's what people should do if they have that opportunity. Not everyone has that opportunity, but you do. So keep going.
That's interesting to hear, to be honest. Yeah, that's awesome. I don't think I've ever like kind of asked someone who had that like crossroads option and went the other way if they would regret it. And like at the same time, like I think everyone gets a bit scared of getting older. Like everyone gets a bit, you know, intimidated by the idea that, you know, you've got a timeline on it. But I'm excited for my 30s, and I can see obviously probably by at least maybe my early 30s I'll retire and you know, find a new avenue, and then it'll be, have a new purpose, and I'm a different version of myself that I was when I finished high school, obviously. So during this last 10 years and fighting, I've learned a lot about myself, and I think this next journey I'll be pretty comfortable in it.
True. It's never too late to learn, man. Like you can do, there's nothing stopping you doing what you just said about going to uni into your late 30s when you finish your fighting career. You know, there's nothing stopping you. And on that too, learning as well. You mentioned that you don't speak Te Reo very, very strongly. So I want to touch on your Maori culture. Is that something you want to do in the future too? Reconnect a little bit more and learn, because language is fun to learn anyway, especially if you're in that environment. So if you get the chance to spend some time in New Zealand, is that something you would do?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely. It's been like, yeah, a bit time consuming traveling and bouncing around all the time. So you don't get a lot of options for not only hobbies, but like little things. Like I'm about to start my Invisalign, and I'm just like finally I can like be in the one place where I can like get my teeth sorted, like, which is insane in a sense. So it's definitely something that, like, now being a little bit more situated and balanced, I want to start diving into all these things that I've been passionate about or that I've been gonna do for a very long time. Te Reo is definitely at the top of the list, or just understanding the culture in a general sense.
Yeah, it seemed like just watching some of your things, it seemed like it's something that you feel like you really need to, you know, bridge the gap a little bit. Like you've been away for so long, that is something you feel like you're maybe a little hole in you that you'd like to fix. And then you look at some of the guys when it brings like it blends together with fighting. We look at guys like Shane Young, Kai Kara France, man, they use their heritage to give them strength. And maybe that's something you could do if you get the chance to reconnect during your fighting career, right? Like you might be able to draw some strength from it as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Just like having that part of your identity, something that I'm so proud of and something that I try so much to be an advocate for. And then I'll almost feel like a phony sometimes because I haven't had a lot of time myself to understand it. But that doesn't make me, I think I've said this in interviews as well, it doesn't make me any less of a, Indigenous Maori woman. But at the same time, I would just love to have a better understanding so that I can represent my culture and my identity a little bit better on this international stage that we all get to grace. So yeah, working on it will be on the list.
Now, Janay, I see you're like the queen of interviews. There's about 1,000 interviews if you look online. You've done many, so I'm not going to go into like some of the boring old questions. I've got 10 sort of quick questions I want to ask you before we finish up. They're kind of simple, some okay, normal questions, some a little bit silly. Just give me sort of quickish answers. No need to go too deep into them. So first, obviously, MMA fighters, you guys understand your body. You're in and out of training every day, many times a day. What's your tips for training and motivation for your general sort of person?
Find a balance, listen to your body. I think it's always glorified to push super hard, and that's great, but sometimes it can't be maintained. So yeah, definitely listen to your body. Take days off when you need to take days off. I think one of my best camps I've ever felt, I took time off when I needed to, and I scheduled rest when I needed to, and I really kept up my recovery. That's a massive thing.
Cool. Tips for true health, because health isn't always just about like, going to the gym. There's mental, diet, sleeping, all these things. What's your tips for true health?
I think being present in everything that you do, constantly reminding yourself of gratitude. There's a lot of power in gratitude, no matter where you are when there's all chaos and everything happening. Gratitude and just being present gives you that sort of mindfulness and mindset to help deal with everything that's happening. And it keeps you sort of intuitive with your own mind so that it doesn't get lost. And I think that spreads out to all health.
Cool. Best street fight story?
I don't have any. I've never been in a street fight. That's my best story. That I've been like a part of breaking one up, and then I nearly got decked because of it, obviously, but I haven't, and I've never been in a street fight. So
I think that's probably a good thing. To be honest, it's not a bad thing. And when I'm asking people this, I'm wondering if someone's going to say that. So far hasn't been the case. But one day you're the first. You're the winner.
I think it's because I started MMA. I started martial arts young. Honestly, I think starting martial arts young makes you just be like, I don't have no interest in this. Like if someone starts you just kind of laugh at them and walk off. Obviously, it doesn't always work like that, but in a general sense, I try to avoid it.
So what do you think would be the best street fight technique? Right, walk away, perhaps?
I don't think so. And everything's different. And the thing with street fights is that there's all these other factors that you've got to worry about, other people, weapons, objects, all that sort of stuff, the cement, all that sort of thing. But I think like taking someone to the ground, because not a lot of people can do much off their back. Like an average Joe person, obviously anyone who's done a little bit of jiu-jitsu or wrestling is going to figure it out, but an average Joe person doesn't have much to do. And you've got less options for like accidentally king hitting them or them falling over and you doing way too much damage, going too far where you can't reverse it.
Actually, I was just listening to a tiny soundbite of Joe Rogan yesterday, and it said one of his guests on the show said to him, "So what's the practicality of jiu-jitsu?" And Joe Rogan said, "If we ever fight, I will kill you."
Yeah. Yeah, I've done
that's a practicality. It's kind of true, right? Like you said,
it is. I'll break your arm. Or
it's like taking someone into the water that can't swim. It's the same thing, right? Exactly the same analogy.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can, and the problem with like standing up is you can break your own hands and all that sort of stuff. And I wouldn't want to break my hands. That's how I make money.
These hands. Hey, what's the best martial art if you can only learn one?
I've been asked this before, and it's such a hard question. I mean, me personally, and my personality who loves striking, I would probably go into boxing. Like I would probably just stick with boxing. I always thought maybe kickboxing, but honestly, my love for boxing has developed over the years. So if I had to just do one, it would be boxing.
Cool. What's the true value of learning martial arts or MMA?
Integrity in yourself. I think that's the biggest thing. integrity in yourself, understanding that you are more capable of a lot of things than you think you are, and that you know, there is a community out there, and there's always somebody that will be able to smash you. I think that, like, that staying humble, but also understanding that, you know, you are capable of a lot more than you think. Those two lessons are massive for me.
Cool. Onto the silly sort of questions. Someone gives you an elephant, you can't sell it or give away. What do you do with it?
All right, give it to I'm not giving it away, but my mom loves elephants. So we'd probably have to just build a whole friggin' sanctuary for the thing, and then we'll keep it for her. She would love it. She's worked at elephant sanctuaries before. Should be stoked.
Cool. Compare yourself to an animal. What would it be and why?
Oh, this is a hard one. I think my spirit animal is dogs. I think, like, I would love to be a lion, but low key, I think I'm more of a balanced dog, where I'm super empathetic. I'm very loyal, and I love affection and love people at the end of the day, as much as I sometimes act like I don't.
That's cool. Describe the purpose of MMA to someone from another planet.
That's a good one. Probably it's glory fighting. It's a spectator sport. It's an ego battle. I honestly do think that, like, between two people of physicalities.
Cool. Last question of these ones. Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized Francis Ngannou's or 1 10-foot tall-sized Francis Ngannou?
So I remember I got asked this on my Q&A, like one of my Instagram ones before, and I answered wrong. Because I said the 100 ducks, and everyone was like, no way. I think maybe the one big one.
That's the majority of answers so far, is people that the fighters that want the little ones. They reckon they can just boot them out, like boot the hell out of them, like soccer balls.
And then someone said they would, like, swarm me or something. So, but I don't think I'd have a lot of luck against one big one. So yeah, I'm just going to I'm going to stay strong to my OG answer and just be like the 100 little ones, and just, at least, you know, it's like in Call of Duty zombies, you know how you just kind of round them up, like that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, cool. All right, so done with the questions. Just one last serious question is, you said you want to stay as active as possible for this year. What's your plans now for 2022 and the future?
Yeah, it's always obviously all dependent on what the people at the top tier say, but I have got an eye surgery in a week and a half. So I should only have like a month off. Luckily, with these surgeries, it's not super, you know, long on the sidelines. I've still got another fight left on this contract, so trying to get that in before the end of the year. Ideally, if I can do more, maybe like I really want to do the ADCC trials in a couple of weeks, but I missed the thing by 2 days. So something like that, maybe like at least one fight, and then maybe like a jiu-jitsu or like an invitational or something like that, just to keep me active and make up for the couple of years of COVID and stuff. And I love the sport, and I like to stay as active as possible as long as my body allows it. So yeah, a couple of things before the end of the year, and then finish it out strong.
Cool. Perfect. All right, Genah, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. You're a pleasure to talk to, easy talker, and hope I can catch you again sometime.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.